Hi everyone, welcome to our session on the stories of modern anxiety. As you guys know, this is basically a platform where our band reaches out to friends, professionals, basically individuals who are able to lend a voice to understanding the topic of modern anxiety and the issues related to it. So today, I think we are really happy to have Shawn. Shawn, maybe you'd just like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm Shawn. I'm actually a counsellor and also a social worker at SOS. My work entails doing crisis support for persons in distress via counselling, email befriending, and even through text messaging platforms. Mostly crisis as well as grief-related support, like for persons who, after a suicide death has happened in the family.
Maybe if you could just help us to get an understanding of how to begin thinking about anxiety.
I think when we talk about anxiety, we do need to understand that anxiety does come in any shape and any form that affects a person. Anybody who is possibly going through a transition, a life change, or even basically an ordinary person who is taking exams or any major events that they have to deal with or they have to manage, anxiety will come up. So actually having anxiety is actually considered quite normal. It's not a bad thing. Sometimes it even pushes us to do things that we don't normally do. Yeah, but when it gets too overwhelming, and that's when it becomes a problem. I think in Singapore, people mention GAD as one of the top anxieties that a person does struggle with, or some social phobias that a person might have that develops over time, or even due to trauma that has happened. Whether is it going through a state where during their early years, developmentally, there were some challenges, or even a crisis that happened that was unresolved that continues to actually shape and even haunt them. It comes out as anxiety, and it can actually be very difficult to manage. Eventually, even many people who come to us, they do present with anxiety as a symptom when they struggle with the suicidal ideation.
The 20 to 29-year-old age range is actually the highest proportion of suicide in terms of age. Do you think that there are any unique or specific factors that contribute to anxiety for those of us in that age group?
I think because this age group is an age group of transitions, even identity is actually a big thing. Trying to make sense of their place in society, trying to even make sense of generic like stereotypes that a 20 to 29-year-old has to deal with. So even like whether or not everyone around them is getting married.
Tell me about it.
Having children, a successful career, or even in school, whether I can get a scholarship to further my studies. Am I able to do my parents proud because they have spent years investing in me? And so that anxiety builds up growing up in an environment where the pathway is sort of presented before you. You just need to go through the different stages to be able to become an adult. But then after that, having been pushed out to society, learning to figure your way out in this very big world, I think that anxiety does increase exponentially.
I'm just thinking about this year, 2020, obviously the big theme is COVID-19. Where we are right now in terms of Singapore as a society. Firstly, maybe what's the implications of COVID-19 on anxiety?
Definitely the implications are far-flung. It has resulted in a lot of changes in society, people losing their jobs, the way of life that they are so used to. People do start to struggle with their mental health because they start to look at these societal norms like being able to find a job, provide for my family, get married at a certain age. All these major life changes that is very impacted by COVID-19. You can say that we are actually a society going through major transition.
I would be really interested to hear your perspective of what does the process of recovery kind of look like?
It has a lot to do with functionality, being able to manage where they are, what they are doing at this stage. Yeah. So if you talk about recovery from a medical perspective, it's like you're totally healed. Yeah. But I think when we deal with like issues like anxiety, issues like suicide, the idea of being totally healed may actually be a little bit of a stretch. Because when you set that bar as I need to be totally recovered and healed, you're somewhat also setting yourself up for failure. If you can't meet that and then you feel even worse about yourself and then you question, am I really like being able to get better, or is this really just making things much worse? So when we talk about recovery, has the treatment that I'm undergoing, does it actually help me to get a little bit better, be able to just restore certain levels of function? I used to be able to do certain activities that I used to be interested in, passionate about, that I can
day-to-day living,
day-to-day living, undertake all that. I think also when we talk about anxiety, it's also a lot to do with maintenance, trying to maintain the condition so that it does not flare up, it does not get to the point that it pushes a person to feel so overwhelmed realm that they need to contemplate suicide as a way out. Being open to talk about their anxiety, being open to have an open dialogue through empathy, being able to have supportive friends, people around them. Just giving a voice to anxiety itself is actually very important. Because many people who come to us, there isn't a platform that they can openly share about what they struggle with, because many of times they feel repetitive, invalidated, no one is there to listen
Right.
or everybody is so tired of listening, complain and talk about
Sick of listening to me.
my problems. Then I might as well just retreat and isolate. And then that's when things get out of hand.
What does the journey look like? Or are there certain, like, I don't know, thresholds or checkpoints of recovery?
The best counsellor in the world cannot push a person to take one step forward if they are not willing or not ready. And we talk about also readiness. Many a times when stepping forward, it's also having the ready posture to know that this is going to be tough, it's going to be difficult, it's not going to be the easiest journey. But yes, I will be brave, I will be willing to take that step forward. And having family, friends who support them through this is actually very, very important. Because it pushes them to go forward when things get really, really hard. Having that kind of support from the community, the people around them will actually make a lot of difference. So having that acknowledgement, that encouragement, emotional support. I used to see a client who used to present very much with initially with anxiety related issues. His anxiety actually provokes a whole range of reactions that also due to the alcohol intoxication, it actually heightened to the point that he would actually have very pronounced suicidal ideation because it was too much for him to take. He was not able to manage the anxiety. In this journey working with him, it was actually a very difficult time just trying to help him to make sense of what he was going through. Even digging into his history, unraveling certain traumatic experiences that he had gone through. There was a lot that had to be unpacked. Even working with the medical professionals to ensure that he was actually getting the necessary treatment. Through that journey, we did see some change, some growth. He's on his journey of recovery, but I would say that it's still very much a process. Organizations like us, we exist to provide that safe space, that emotional support, being able to work hand in hand with a person who has presented with an early struggle and wanting to actually work together to actually manage and go forward. I think that's something that we do need to keep in mind. I think sometimes the struggle is also when people acknowledge that they have this issue, they want a quick fix. You don't tell me, you just give me the right medication and then things will get better. Or when I go through one session of therapy, then they tell me, okay, so after this session I will be fine, right? I will be back to what? That's not realistic. Because you're talking about a change of perspective, frame of mind. So I would definitely encourage open conversation, willingness to manage, deal with the issue, and then working with a professional to see how it can complement on what you are going through at this stage and taking it one step at a time. It takes a journey.